So yet another movie that I'm a little bit late on, but I finally just watched Jurassic World Dominion. I didn't go out to theaters to see it, and then when it finally came out on digital, I was super excited, but in order to get a digital copy of the movie from my iPhone on YouTube, it was like $36.99 for ultra high def, and I was like, fuck you. No offense, but the trailer didn't really make this movie look like it was going to be that good. Plus, I mean, just kind of like the track record of the Jurassic World movies. I thought that the first one was pretty solid. Got to extend a little bit of disbelief at the, for the end scene. Second one was fun, but, just a different, like, grade of movie. The Jurassic Park films, I grew up with them, and it's like, barring the third one, which in my opinion is still the worst of the franchise. Jurassic Park and even The Lost World were really freaking good movies, all right? So I went into this with very low expectations, and I think that that was a good thing. The movie was too long, all right? It did need to be cut down a pretty substantial amount. Every Jurassic Park movie, apart from Part 3, exceeds 2 hours, but only by like a few minutes, you know what I mean? Like this was like a 2.5 hour movie. It could have been cut down to like regular Jurassic Park movie time, like 2 hours and 5 minutes or whatever, and been a lot better. The writing is not particularly good. That's not to say that the story isn't decent, but kind of hearkening back to the prequel trilogy, decent enough story, not terrific writing. There were a lot of eye-rolly moments. There are also a couple moments here and there that are like really fan service, like really in your face. I mean, if we're being honest, okay, the Jurassic World movies are kind of like the prequel trilogy. They are apart from the Jurassic Park films, all right? Yes, they are a continuation of the franchise, but the whole vibe is completely different. It's bigger, it's more grandiose. The insane reliance on CGI just comes off as like very Hollywood, it comes off as very like assembly line. It really could be said about a lot of the Marvel movies. It's very Hollywood, it's very big, it's not particularly realistic. However, most people that I know, most people that I've talked to actually did like the first Jurassic World, myself included. Now, when the first Jurassic World came out, that was my favorite Jurassic Park sequel. As time has passed, no, it's The Lost World. But, Jurassic World, the first one, as it's aged, that movie showed you what Jurassic Park would have been like had it been allowed to open, which was kind of cool. The introduction of a genetically modified dinosaur was really cool. But then, when you get to the end, all right, you've got a velociraptor and a T-Rex teaming up against this genetically modified dinosaur. And then just to cap off the fight, just for the hell of it, a freaking mosasaur comes out physically out of the ocean, grabs the genetically modified dinosaur, and pulls it into the depths. So outlandishly unrealistic, it's insane. But they did such a good job building up to that it's like you, at least I, as an audience member, were prepared to kind of overlook it and be like, all right, I mean, that was kind of ridiculous, but it was also kind of awesome. And once you've taken that step over the line into the Jurassic World series. This particular movie, again, too long, a lot of blatant fan service, yes. However, they did right by the characters. Ian Malcolm, Dr. Grant, Ellie Sattler. In fact, and I'm sorry, I will just say this straight away, all right? It is a tiny spoiler, but I don't really care. I mean, it doesn't ruin like how the movie unfolds. Jurassic Park 3, which again, I think is the weakest of the entire series. All 6 movies was the weakest. Ellie Sattler broke up or divorced her husband, okay? Which leaves her open and available, and her and Dr. Grant are once more an item. In my opinion, okay, they actually fixed that because fans, myself included, were pissed off in Jurassic Park 3 when we saw that. It was so disrespectful to both characters, it seemed, particularly Dr. Grant. I felt like he deserved better than that. And especially if you're trying to make a series of movies that, again, is fun, barring realism. In terms of barring realism, I wish that they had kind of explained why the dinosaurs can live in the cold, because, okay, maybe they have more relation to birds, but most birds fly south for the winter. There's still the olive branch that you extend towards Claire's character, that she becomes this, like, freaking activist because of her guilt of, like, the corporate bitch she used to be. This is more the fault of the movie that preceded this one. Like, I wish that they had covered that a little bit more. I wish that they had shown that evolution, because just to kind of jump into it, I didn't quite buy it. Like, yes, I believe she felt bad. Do I believe that she would have gone out of her way? Going from, like, complete and total, like, corporate America to a hippie with her freaking sign, animal rights, like, no. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. And I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, I'm just saying that there could have been more, like, actual on-screen development of her character, like more of a character arc that takes place over the 3 films, instead of just flipping a switch and saying, like, oh, hey, this is how it is now. This last Jurassic World movie, there is an ass ton of action. You have to suspend all disbelief. This is the biggest, this is the most grandiose of the entire trilogy. Like, it's required in order for you to enjoy this movie. You have to check your brain at the door. Now, if you do that, you might actually have a pretty damn good time. Again, barring the length. I was kind of surprised, because I kind of thought that this movie was just going to be, like, action-packed from the absolute beginning. I mean, not quite so much. They still had those, like, little moments in the beginning for you to kind of, like, appreciate. They even had sort of, like, the wonder of living in a world with dinosaurs. Suspending disbelief is the key to enjoying this movie, and in my opinion, the key to enjoying the Jurassic World trilogy. I understand why a lot of people didn't like this movie. I understand why a lot of people didn't like the trilogy. And all of the arguments that are out there, don't get me wrong, are 110% accurate and respectable. But the closure that was given to the characters, the story, again, was good, because this was always kind of a worry that we had dating back to the original Jurassic Park, that, like, this could become our reality. Like, we screw around with genetics. What Ian Malcolm says in the first one: God creates dinosaurs, God kills dinosaurs, God creates man, man destroys God, man creates dinosaurs. Right from the beginning, there's the whole sort of like foreboding that this kind of a situation can happen. So this was the logical end to the series, in my opinion. And they did a lot of cool things with it, like the way society has just adapted to living adjacent to dinosaurs. I'm happy that they went in that direction. And again, story-wise, it was really good. Even the whole concept that Dodson, we've got Dodson here. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be him who was the head of the company, or if that was just like a relative or whatnot. It wasn't the original actor, I'll tell you that much. But the whole idea that there was this competing company to InGen that is just totally corporate. There's this whole subplot with, like, locusts and, like, wiping out the crops, except the crops that are genetically modified by this particular corporation. It does make sense. They built up their own story in their own right that was actually kind of clever, that relates to the original Jurassic Park without totally hanging on its dick like a wet towel. This movie also brought back the Dilophosaurs, which I think was cool, because even in the Lost World, I was like, where the hell are the Dilophosaurs? Like, the other thing that I would say about this movie is this is the most, like, PG-rated Jurassic Park movie I have ever seen. Let's put it this way. I'm very happy that the amount of people that make it out alive, but the amount of human characters that are killed by dinosaurs in this movie are few and far between, and those that are usually just, like, periphery characters, so it's kind of like... This movie was chock full of problems. The writing was not particularly good, though the story was. It was inflated, it was a little long, but they did do justice to the characters, and I'm not gonna lie, I was entertained. Which, again, like I said, if in the first Jurassic World movie you decided to take that leap, to some degree or another, you've said that you're on board for this kind of thing. So the movie was entertaining. Was it good? No. Entertaining? Yes. And therefore, would I recommend it? Yes. Just check your brain at the door. It's a fun movie. I am actually genuinely happy that it exists, but I can't honestly say that it's a good movie. This entire trilogy has really been kind of one gigantic exploitation, but I guess just take it for what it is. And that's all she wrote.